Hello, my name is Andre Komrink and I'm Extension Manager for CRI based in the Eastern Cape. Fruit fly pose a serious threat to citrus in South Africa. The Natal fruit fly and the Mediterranean fruit fly are indigenous species that are widely spread in citrus orchards in South Africa, and farmers need to monitor for these two fly species. There are a couple of different trap systems that are registered for monitoring these fly species in citrus orchards. In this video, we're going to look at the Sensus Trap System that growers can use to monitor fruit fly species in their orchards. It comes in this form. It is a pretty simple system. It comes with a wire here that you would use when you deploy the trap into the tree. It's got this blue lid, and it's got the receptacle where the fruit flies that you'll be catching on a weekly basis, monitoring on a weekly basis, will be collected. On the top part of the trap here, there's opening holes for the flies to enter the trap, and the lid just gets screwed on like that. So in loading the trap with the pheromone or the attractant pheromone that we're going to use that's registered with this Sensus trap, there are two pheromones. It is a red one and a green one. The difference between these two attractant lures would be the green one, which is called a quest lure. With this lure, we'll be attracting the female flies of the fruit flies that you're trying to trap in the orchard. And then the other lure would be the red lure, which will be the cappy lure that will be attracting the male flies in the orchard. These lures come in this form. It's screwed together, so basically you unscrew it and you'll have one attractant lure for the one trap, and the next trap you'll be hanging out in the next orchard. You can use the other part. So in loading the lure into this trap, we will use the quest lure. You unscrew it, so you have the two parts, and then in order for the flies to die that enters the trap, you're going to need an insecticide. This is called the DDVP. It's a dichlorphos insecticide that works on a gas action. The way to load this into the trap is you stick it into the back part of the lid like that, and then the lure basically gets clicked on top of it like that. So with this, then you've loaded the trap, you've loaded the dichlorphos insecticide, and it's just a matter of twisting on the cap, making it sure it's secure and it's not going to drop off. And that is basically how you load the Sensus trap. With a quest lure, if you're going to be loading the cappy lure, it's exactly the same. In deploying the fruit fly traps into the tree or into the orchard, there's a couple of things to note here. In hanging the traps, you basically want to use the shady side of the tree. You don't want to be hanging it on the, let's say, the afternoon sun side of the tree. The idea is to keep it out of direct sunlight. You're also not going to be hanging it on the outside of the canopy. Aim more towards the inside of the canopy here, so you can get it also out of the wind, the path of the wind, and it also make sure that it doesn't collect too much dust if it's hung on the inside, basically, of the canopy. So when hanging out the traps into the orchard, you would like to clear a space, let the trap hang freely. There's no leaves or fruit cluttering the trap. This is basically so the pheromone can disperse evenly, and also to keep the ants out and to give free access for the flies to enter the trap. Important also to note when hanging out this trap into the orchard is on the wire part here that you're going to use to hang it onto the branch. We basically want to keep the ants out of this trap, because the ants will enter the trap and remove the flies that you are trying to count on a weekly basis, which is not what we want. So a good means to do that would be to put a grease, or we recommend a petroleum jelly, just to coat a piece of the wire here when you hang it into the tree. In so doing, you'll basically keep the ants from entering the trap and removing your flies. All these traps get hung out in exactly the same way, about 1.5 meters from the ground level. General adult, it'll be between shoulder and head height. In terms of hanging out the traps in the trees as well into the orchard, we prefer that it doesn't get hung in the middle of the orchard. We prefer that you hang it out on the outside 2 to 4 rows of an orchard is basically covered almost like the outside boundary of the orchard. These tree traps must be spaced at least 30 meters apart. So it'll be good to mark these traps on your farm map or mark the trap in some way so the monitor can easily find it. Another way would be just to deploy it in a sort of a grid system that makes sense to the individual farm or farmer, making it easy for him to monitor these traps on a weekly basis. For more information on where the trap must specifically be hung for the different traps, you can also consult the attractant lure labels, which will also explain a little bit more on how the trap should be deployed into a tree. For more information about fruit fly monitoring and fruit fly management, you can always contact your local area extension manager or visit our website. On the website you'll be able to also find CRI's fruit fly management guidelines. In there you'll find further information on trap thresholds and a bit more detail on everything to do with fruit fly management and citrus orchards in South Africa. Thank you.